So I was scrolling on my YouTube shorts one day and I came across this clip of Tom Brady on the 60 Minutes show a long time ago. It had to be sometime after he won his third Super Bowl. And he was speaking about after winning these three Super Bowls, that something was still greater for him out there. And I was like, dang. And he said that there are still other parts about himself that he want to find out about. And what was crazy about that clip, it instantly made me remember this other clip that I saw with Will Smith on there. He was on Drink Champs, and he was kind of talking about having this same similar feeling after all of the success that he obtained. But first, he started off speaking about rock bottom and how rock bottom is a universal signal for all of us that, all right, it's time for me to make changes in my life. You know what I mean? But then he came up with this phrase that he coined called cliff top, which refers to like the opposite, where you're so high up that you're able to accomplish all of the self-gratifying things out of life that you believe you want, but still not find happiness when it's all said and done. So he spoke about getting to the end of money, quote unquote, which I interpret as you have so much money that you're able to purchase whatever your heart desire or go wherever you want to go. And he spoke about you able to have whatever sexual experience you think you want to have, and you reach the pinnacle of fame that life starts to lose its ability to please you. And after hearing this from these two, I was kind of like, dang, I asked myself, like, why? Like, how is this possible? Because from the outside looking in, these two, for like a regular person like myself, they seem to have a life you believe the majority of us will want. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean it from a financial standpoint. It's because these two people in their respective crafts, they're recognized as being like the top of the top. Tom Brady might be the best quarterback after all the things he's done, and Will Smith is hands down one of the best actors in the industry. And for them to have accomplished so much to ultimately still feel empty when it's all said and done kind of blew my mind. But I do believe I know why this is, so let's talk about it. But I wanted to start off with this Bible verse from Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 14. I have seen all things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I realized that the world teaches all of us that life is about our own glory and our accomplishments, how many things we can do, how well people know us, and a lot of us base our identity off of this. But what I now realize is that we weren't created for self-gratification or for our own glory. We were created to do things that gratify God and to bring glory to Him through our lives. And that's why when we start to walk in our faith and we start to live out our life like that, that's when we actually feel more fulfilled, if that makes sense. So have you ever heard that every single person has a God-shaped hole in their heart that only Jesus Christ could fill? Now I realize God created us to have a relationship with Him. We weren't created to live life apart from Him. And when we decide to live our life apart from Him, we now have to compensate for that void that we all feel in our hearts. But how do we go about doing this is the question. And what a lot of people tend to do is that they try to fill that void with ambition. Like they try to accomplish as much as they can accomplish, whether it's in their respective field, if they want to start their own business, whatever they can put their minds to, they try to climb the ladder in that respective area. Or some people choose to live the YOLO life, where you try to have as many wild experiences as possible, whether it's sexually, traveling from place to place, going out and partying, drinking, smoking marijuana, trying to have the time of your life, but ultimately still feeling empty. Or other people will try to fill that emptiness, fill that space with family and friends and trying to please them and make them happy. You know what I mean? But no matter how much we try to compensate the absence of God by indulging in things like this, it will never be able to fill the space that only He can fill, if you see what I'm saying. A lot of believers can attest what I'm about to say right here, but let me speak for myself. Once I got reconnected with God and I knew I was living within His will for my life, that's when I honestly felt like, okay, life is complete. It no longer became about, all right, let me try to work harder so I can get a nicer house, or work harder, I can get a nicer car, potentially get a better job one day. None of that stuff mattered no more. Only thing mattered was that, okay, I know that the Lord knows me now. You see what I'm saying? Everything else outside of that is just icing on the cake. And then once you realize that and you start doing things that's meant to glorify God, that's when you start to find true happiness. Like, in particular, this channel right here. Before this, I wasn't doing anything that glorified God. I only did things that gratified myself, not even necessarily brought glory to me in the view of other people's eyes, just searching for self-gratification, and I never felt complete doing that. But even something as simple as this channel, being able to speak about God through my life and the things that He done and to bring glory from Him in this way, this is what's making me have fulfillment in my life. Or even the times where I started serving at church, which I would have never done if I didn't fix my relationship with God. Coaching the youth and stuff like that. Going out and volunteering, like all of these things is what brings true fulfillment. Not trying to accomplish as much as we can accomplish for our own self, if that makes any sense. When I lived my life separate from God, I realize now that I pretty much lived a life of no true purpose. Like nothing that was meaningful, in my opinion, that will actually impact other people's lives. And I believe God designed us to do just that for His glory and to potentially lead other people to salvation with the talent that He placed within you. But for you to discover this, you have to seek God, for you to really figure out what you're supposed to be doing with your life that will no longer make you feel empty, but make you feel fulfilled and have you content with the things you have, instead of constantly wanting more, trying to fill that space, wanting more experiences, trying to fill that space that only God can fill. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about life. They want us to focus on striving for more, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be if God's not in the midst of this. God will give you the purpose that will enable you to bear fruit on earth that will actually last. But most importantly, it will be for the benefit of others and for God's glory, and not for self-gratification or for your own glory. And that is what will make you feel that you finally accomplished what life is really about. So if you feel lost, or if you feel like no matter what you do, that something is still missing, what's missing is God. And He's the only one that's going to show you what life is truly about and why you're really here. And until you turn to Him, that feeling won't go away. Enough is enough, man. I'm out.